So if we think about this issue related to police integrity, right, where we're looking to see how people resist, then, right, because this is what we're looking for, is how people resist temptation. If you think about me, right, like how do I resist temptation? For example, I am addicted to dark chocolate peanut butter cups that made by Justin's Peanut Butter Company or whatever the hell it's called. They're fabulous. I love it. I just want to go all the time, right? And the thing is, I know I can't eat them all, but I would if I could. So what I end up doing, right, is that I replace it with an apple, right? Apple's more filling, has more water. It's going to take up more space. It's going to be less of an issue for me. But in this case, then, we look for mitigation strategies. When we're looking for police behavior, then, right? So if we're looking for police resistance to temptation, this isn't, it can manifest itself anywhere, right? We know that police can operate largely unsupervised in most day-to-day interactions, right? There's not always going to be a corporal or a sergeant or LT, like in a grocery store where someone's posted at. There's not always going to be someone around, right? And you can't really hire a research team to do a set of systematic social observations, right? Where they're constantly watching officers, seeing how they interact, right? You could potentially get into a situation where you test people their responses, but that may not actually work. So what ends up happening, right, is that there is a move to surveys to use survey-based data and scenarios. But the end goal of being right is that if we can propose hypothetical situations that are realistic enough that a police officer can engage in, right, or that is viable, right, what you end up doing, right, is looking for a few things, right? We're looking for knowledge about agency rules, behaviors, about the culture within a police department. We're also going to be concerned with, so if we're looking at this hypothetical, we're looking for this kind of knowledge base as well, right? It's not really something that we can ask people to self-report, right? Because people will tend to lie about themselves. It's often easier if questions are framed in such a way where we go and look at when we go and look at people who how they think other people respond, because usually people have a tendency to think that if I think something, other people think the same way. So there's this sort of replacement effect then where we focus on the actions of other people, but we assume that is how other people would do it, right? And so with this body of research then, what we, a few main findings, right, is that there's still this tendency to inflate answers where most people think that they have a high integrity, right? At the same time, right, that may also be true, right? The officers may just have higher integrity, right, because they do take their job seriously. But what ends up happening is that people with lower integrity scores, so who have more permissive attitudes, also tend to be more permissive of misconduct. And interestingly enough, right, there is considerable variation about where this takes place within the police department in terms of geography, in terms of the signs and conditions, where someone meets at, where they do their job at. And as a result of that, we know that a lot of this variation that is present internationally and internationally shows that departments are not uniform in this sense, and so it makes training, it makes implementation, it makes it hard to find people rooted within who may or may not screwing up everything for everyone else, right? But at the same time, right, we're asking people to respond to surveys, and so even though if we gauge people's attitudes and behaviors, they may not necessarily be true in reality. And because of that, this creates a problem, because if this is not how people really interact and behave, then it's not really generalizable to within the department or to other departments. So that's something to keep in mind. And if you take a look at some of the hypothetical scenarios that are used, there is need to update and perhaps refine the theory. But with that, we'll end this section on police integrity, and I guess we move on to test questions next week. So I guess I'll do that then. So until next time, I'll see you.